every year, billions of dollars are lost due to cyber attacks and billions of dollars are spent on cyber security. With regard to your business, how sure are you that you have the right cyber defenses in place? What are the modern day threats that you need to be ready for? You might think that you have all the physical security properly set up, but a very young kid in a corner of a cyber cafe with nothing but a mobile phone may be hacking into your digital infrastructure as we speak. What are all these developments with regard to cyber attacks and cyber security? This will be our focus today here in Bisnomics. And today we have a very special guest joining us. She is a cyber law specialist. She is a researcher and lecturer on cyber law, who is none other than Aparrajitha Ariyadasa. Aparrajitha, absolute pleasure to welcome you to Bisnomics and happy to have you.
Hi.
Aparrajitha, let's first start by defining this whole gamut of things. When you say IT security or cyber security, what does it exactly include and why is it so important for businesses? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so when you talk about cyber security, you have to secure your data in the cyberspace. So when you talk about securing your data, there are a lot of data involved in that when it comes to businesses. So now if you and I know big data business is one of the biggest businesses in the world.
Correct.
So actually I have this practical question from me, why the private data is necessary for us and why you secure our data?
Why privacy is needed and all that?
Why privacy is needed? What's wrong with that? You know, what's wrong with giving the phone number to another person? So this question comes up whenever the time I talk about cyber security. So, but when it comes to businesses, there are a lot of things. Now, as an example, when it comes to a hospital, you have a lot of sensitive data about patients
records and all that.
Patients' records, the biometrics, the diseases, lot of things. So, when it comes to sensitive data and private data, you have to secure them. So, in order to secure data, you have to have a proper cyber security strategies in organizations. It may be cyber security, the firewalls, the technical security or policy wise. So, when it comes to policies, you can have privacy agreements with third parties and you can have privacy officers. Now, there are in other countries, of course, we have data protection officers, so on and so forth. So, if private data is loss of other people, it will be really detrimental to people as well as the reputation of the organization. And also when it comes to banks, if you lose your financial data, as an example in 2010, if I am not mistaken, there was this bank, they have got a phishing attack. One of my clients was compromised, couple of millions of dollars. So, when it comes to scams or phishing attacks or whatever, it impacts the reputation of the organization and also the profits.
Correct.
So, we have to have proper security measures in order to secure data.
Understood.
So, that is what it is.
So, Aparrajitha, when you talk about different types of cyber attacks today, so people always think about hackers, etc., but I think today it has got a lot more sophisticated than that. We hear ransomware, we hear phishing attacks, what you just mentioned. Can you just demystify a few of these attacks for us so that the audience will know what are the most common types of attacks which are out there that they need to protect themselves and their enterprises from?
Yes, most common attack is malware attacks. Malware means malicious software. So, the attackers use malicious software or code to access data of an organization. So, what they do is that they enter the network or the system and either mine the data or they send worms and impersonate data. So, there are a lot of strategies which they use. So, the other attack, the type of attack is phishing, as I told you. So, phishing attacks are very common. The other types of attack is DDoS attacks. As an example, when it comes to
distributed denial of service.
Denial of service attacks. So, service is denied, service is stopped.
So, that means basically if it is an email server of a company, you attack it and bring it to a level where it cannot provide that email provision service to the rest of the organization.
Exactly. So, for some time the service will be stopped.
Correct.
So, it does not make any ransom or whatever, but the business is stopped for some time. It impacts your profits.
And I believe what you mentioned, DDoS, distributed denial of service, is where if I write a virus or a code where it affects all so many other computers and gets those attacks also to attack that one server, then it's distributed across so many computers, the attack is coming.
Exactly.
These things are getting very sophisticated every day, Aparrajitha.
Exactly. So, the other type of attack is birthday attacks.
Birthday.
Yeah. They take your, they hack your, they guess. They are using probability theory and they guess your birthday and they access your own computers. Like, it's actually not for organizations, probably for the persons, but still it's a sort of an attack. And the other type of attack is ransomware, which is very dangerous because they send whatever the virus and they ask for a ransom. They stop your service and they ask for a ransom. So, as an example, I do not know whether you have heard of that attack, WannaCry attack. It was the attack was made to all these Microsoft Windows computers. Yeah. So, they were asking for ransoms. So, it is a very critical situation. If you can remember in 2017, if I am not mistaken, they asked for ransoms. So, they are taking the system on hold and they are asking for millions of ransoms. Correct. So, the other type of...
even as recently there were so many companies, the Colonial Pipeline, one of the largest oil pipelines in US.
Yes.
Then one of the largest meat suppliers in the world. They all have been subjected to these ransomware attacks, Aparrajitha.
Yeah.
And unless you pay the ransom, you are not allowed to, that problem won't go away, and these ransoms go into millions of dollars.
Millions and billions of dollars, and it's a encrypted coding, so it's not easy to recover also when the ransomware attacks are there, and also all these ransoms are done by way of worm attacks. So, it will impact the whole system of the computers. And password attacks. So, passwords will be hacked. So, a more commonest attack type is password attacks. It's about 80%. 80% of cyber attacks are done by way of password attacks. And the other type of attacks is interfering. As per the, actually these terms are a bit different when it comes to the cyber law, the Computer Crimes Act.
Correct.
So, it is called interception. So, these words are not used in Computer Crimes Act. So, the people who are investigating, they have to know the terms as well as what is happening in the Computer Crime Act as well. So, interception. Interception means you intercept the system and then you interfere with the system and stop the system. So, that is also another type of attacks. And malware as a service attack. So, this is another growing trend which is used of malware of service attack.
Malware is like viruses, dangerous programs.
Dangerous programs. So, other types of attack is spams.
We always see this, this company is having 50th anniversary, here's the link, click it, and when you click it, it goes to so many of your other friends and just keeps propagating.
Yes. So, actually this is actually even I have got a lot of SMSs, by way of SMSs and WhatsApp messages or whatever. And also IoT attacks, they attack the IoT systems, actually now
Internet
the
of Things,
Internet of Things.
Device or car. Now they say even some of the top electric vehicles which are connected to the internet, that they can hack and they can get full control of your car.
Of the car. Actually in Europe this has become a real problematic situation, because when it comes to smart cities, now they are going to go as smart cities, smart vehicles, smart equipment, smart homes, everything is smart, you know. So, when it comes to IoTs, there are a lot of IoTs involved in smart vehicles, smart equipments or smart whatever. Main problem with IoTs is that most of the manufacturers, they do not take care of the regulations. As an example, when it comes to Europe, these GDPR regulations are there. So, the latest principle is privacy by design. So, design has to embed
Correct.
the privacy regulation inside, but the thing is it's all depends on the manufacturer.
Understood. Aparrajitha, let's talk about the situation in Sri Lanka. Is cyber security or cyber attacks a really big threat in Sri Lanka? Because we do not always hear about it on the news, but do our enterprises also get attacked?
Yeah, of course, yes. Like several times they have a lot of attacks. Now, when it comes to 2020, they have a lot of attacks. Even Chinese embassy website was attacked. And also I have come across from my research, there are a lot of vulnerable websites, insecure websites in Sri Lanka. So, in 2021, if I am not mistaken, Prime Minister's website was attacked, but even the President website was attacked. Actually, when I see the coding of President's the attacker's coding, it was just a small HTML coding. So, the web developers, they have to know
how to have preventive measures, as you said, security by design.
Security by design, and also what I see from our web designers is that they take this WordPress coding. So, when they take WordPress coding, it's open source. Everybody. It's open source, so they have to create the coding accordingly by using HTML or Python or whatever. So, the web designers have to use proper measures to secure the websites.
Understood. What do you need to know about securing your enterprise and what defense mechanisms are there? Let's talk about that on the other side of this break. This is Bisnomics. Welcome back to Bisnomics. Our focus today is on digital security. What do you need to know about having your digital presence as well as the digital infrastructure of your company safeguarded? And we are in conversation with Aparrajitha Ariyadasa. Aparrajitha, let's talk about how people can safeguard their own login credentials, because it all starts with that. And at the same time, you still have people who will set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as the password, or they put their name or the name of like a particular word from the dictionary and so on. I mean, you're asking for trouble. You're inviting to be hacked when you do these things.
Yes.
So what is your advice? What are the basic tips you can give for people to keep their logins secured?
Yeah. When it comes to the logins, before coming to the logins, I have advice to developers. So, since privacy by design principles are there, developers also have to have the ethics to safeguard the consumers. So, they have to apply these principles in their developments. Second thing for users, the consumers, is that personal credentials, as you told. Yeah, you don't put your birthday or your daughter's birthday or name or whatever. If a hacker can guess, So, do not put them. And the other way is to use multi-factor authentication. So, when it comes to signing to Google, they ask for verifications, two-factor verification. So, always put two-factor verifications, put your password and get your secret number to your phone. When you do your online transactions, always keep two-factor authentication. So, that will be the easiest way to safeguard your password, and also multi usage of the same password.
Correct.
So, most of the people, for the ease of use,
one password for everything.
One password for everything. So, avoid that.
And they say nowadays to have at least one capital, one simple, at least one number, one non-alphabetic character, and to make it at least 8 to 12 characters, isn't it? 8
to 12 characters, but there is a practical problem also to keep that in mind. Even I forget what I write, but still you actually it has been researched that 99.9% is secured. You are secured for 99.9% if you use two-factor or three-factor authentication.
That is, when you enter the password, you also get SMS or something which you have to enter.
Yes. So, and also you can use numbers and capital letters, simple letters, likewise. So, you can use that.
Let us talk about ransomware, Aparrajitha, because I believe that this is one of the biggest areas of risks that companies are facing. Somebody might accidentally click a link or download a software, and then that locks in all your IT systems. Until you make a particular ransom payment, you can't really get your systems back. How big a problem is this worldwide, and especially in Sri Lanka also do we face this risk, and what is your advice to face these risks? Is it to pay the ransom, but some people say even once you pay the ransom, there is no demand, there is no guarantee that they will give your systems back. What is your advice to companies, let us say, number one, to avoid ransomware attacks on them, and number two, if they are attacked by a ransomware, what should they do?
Yeah, to safeguard your businesses and organizations, of course, you have to have proper measures. As an example, cyber security measures. As an example, when you have your website, don't take common open source software and open source web providers. So, get it done, get it coded by HTML or CSS or whatever, get it coded. If you are dealing with lot of data, so you have to get it done by a proper website designer, not just from common web provider.
Understood.
Yeah, that is a must. And also you have to have your proper firewalls. And also in the policy point of view, I have noticed our websites could be accessed from anywhere in the world. But when it comes to Europe, they are having their geo-blocks. So, as a country, we must not allow the external hackers to hack our system network.
Especially some of the critical systems.
Critical systems. So, now as an example, if you have heard of this Fashion ID case, so it is all about private data. Fashion ID was a retailer website which is in Germany. So, when the customers access that website, you have this plugin, Facebook plugin. Even though you do not if you do not touch the plugin, your personal data is processed, used by the website. So, it was an offense, and the Fashion ID was sued against that. But when I wanted to check with the Fashion ID website, I could not access from Sri Lanka. So, that means they are very secure when it comes to geographical area, right. So, all our websites, especially critical infrastructure, you have to have that geo blocking. Otherwise, even though the websites are secured. As a country, if we do not protect our geographical area, territorial area, you cannot have a proper security.
Correct. So, when let us say you have been taken over by a ransomware system, what is the step then?
Yeah, when you are taken over, of course, you have to go to courts and find out who has taken over, but it won't be easy because of
the foreign source as well.
Foreign source as well. Actually, it happened to it's not a ransomware. Actually, they have sent a email and they have mined the money. But still it will be really difficult for a country like Sri Lanka, because the investigation part, the cyber forensic part of it will be really crucial.
Understood.
So, do not let it happen. Prevention is better than cure.
Let us talk about this phishing, because that is another very common type of attack which people face,
yes,
especially businesses face. So, I can get an email, it looks like from the bank,
yes,
everything looks like from the bank, but there is a slight change in the email address which I might not even notice, and then it is having a link for me to go and enter my details.
yes,
And I think I have entered into the legitimate website, but it is actually not the legitimate, it is a fakely designed one. Am I right? Yes. How can people protect themselves from phishing attacks, Aparrajitha?
Actually, it will be the hardest part for a common person. Even as a cyber security person, I may not be able to identify. That is why I told there should be a policy for monitoring, because as a country the government has to have those measures. Strategies should be there, but I actually went through the strategy of Sri Lanka, but the monitoring part is not there. So, time to time there has to be vulnerability checks as well as monitoring part of it.
So
that is the lacking part.
In other words, I think the advice we can give to the people also is that just because you get an email with your bank's logo, everything, and with a link to go and click, or a Google form to go and click, don't just blindly follow that, because it might not be really the case. It might not be from your bank. Anyone can make a email with a nice logo and send to you.
Obviously, you can cross check with the bank, because this is a very small territory. You are known to everyone. No? When it comes to Colombo, almost everybody is known to each other. So, you just give a shout, give a call to bank and ask, give a shout, give a call to the friend and ask. Actually, once I got an email like that from a friend. So, I called him and asked whether
you sent it.
No,
whether the friend sent something like that.
Whether the friend sent something like that.
Yeah.
So, you can just cross check.
Do we have a proper government policy for cyber security, and is there a proper cyber security law in Sri Lanka?
Yes, we have a policy, but yeah, there are 6 strategies when it comes to the government, but the gap is, what I have seen is that the monitoring part of it, but yeah, there's a government policy. Yes, there are laws, but there will be laws as well. Computer Crimes Act is one of the acts where you protect people from computer crimes.
Is it enacted in the parliament?
Yes. It is enacted. And Data Privacy Act is on the way. It is already passed by the parliament. So, it is with regard to the privacy, the private data, the protection of private data. So, Intellectual Property Act somewhat protects the intellectual property rights of the people,
sure.
But the problem is the investigation part of it. Sometimes there are practical situations where the hackers use VPNs.
Virtual private networks.
Virtual private.
They can hide their true presence, and they may be hacking you from China, but it appears as if it's coming from US also.
US also. But the thing is, even that, if you have proper cyber forensic investigations, you can find out the person. But
I want to ask you on this matter with regard to VPNs, because every time the government decides to ban internet or Facebook or social media, people decide to go for VPN. But
yes,
when you go through a VPN and when you are entering your private information, sometimes another unauthorized party might be getting access to that information. Am I right?
Yeah, surely. We don't know the VPN, no? We don't know where it comes from. But sometimes there are free VPN, so we don't know anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you have to be very careful.
So there we do have a proper cyber security policy in Sri Lanka. That's what you are saying.
We do have, but there are gaps.
Stay tuned. We will be back after this short break. This is Bisnomics. Welcome back to Bisnomics. Our focus today is on cybersecurity and the defenses. In a world where there are so much of cyber attacks, what do you need to know to keep your digital presence and your own digital identity safe? And we are in conversation with Aparrajitha Ariyadasa. Aparrajitha, let's talk about the role of the IT team of an organization in enabling digital security. What is your advice to them? How do they go about, because you are someone whose doctorate specializes on cyber law and cyber security. So how do you advise for an IT company or rather IT department of an organization to go about and ensuring that their cyber defenses are strong? Where should they start? What should be their main objectives? Enlighten us.
Yes, now when it comes to a bank, anyway they have their IT team and I feel that they are very powerful. But when it comes to data privacy, data protection officers should be there. But lacking part in Sri Lanka is still the data protection officers are not properly certified and not properly trained. So data protection officers are there, and also there should be data protection impact assessments to be done. Actually, when it comes to data, data protection management is one of the main requirements as per GDPR in European Union.
General Data Protection Regulation. And I believe this is the law that was brought about in the EU based on the developments like Cambridge Analytica, Facebook data violations, and so on.
Yes. So the same thing has been adopted in Sri Lanka. It's very easy because even in our Data Privacy Act, we adopted the same thing. So there you have all these principles, the transparency to fairness to legality and whatever. And also privacy by design principle is also there, but still that is pertaining to law. But when it comes to the management, there are a lot of things: data audits, data protection management, impact assessment, so on and so forth. So these data protection officers are liable to conduct all these management part of it. So if a company manages its data, maybe a small company, as long as they manage their data won't be here and there scattered all over. So data protection management is extremely important to an organization.
Understood. Good point there on that. Now, once again, let's say my company has been hacked, or let's say my data has been stolen. What should a business do? Because we have recently seen so many very strong businesses, digital enterprises, they were accused of not coming out and speaking when they have been hacked. Because if I am holding your data in my business and if I get hacked, that means I have essentially compromised your data. You have a right to know about that, maybe you have a right to be compensated on that. Aparrajitha, what is the matter with regard to this matter? What does the law say? And also what would be the other key elements of the cybersecurity law of Sri Lanka? Share with us your thoughts.
Yes, now it comes to hacking. Computer Crimes Act is there, so it's clear.
Have people been prosecuted under that?
Yes, of course, why not? Even network security, if a network is hacked, they can be sued. So
the company can be sued.
Not the company, the hacker can be sued.
But what about the company for failing to protect the data?
The thing is, like, failing to protect the data means it all depends on the data subject's rights. Correct. So when it comes to, it's a vast area what you are asking. And
a lot of grey matters as well, I believe.
Grey matter in the sense that question is very vast. Now we'll divide that into sub questions. Yes. So when it comes to,
I'm known for kind of asking very complicated questions.
Okay, fine, it's fine. So when it comes to privacy data. Now, see, if a hospital discloses private data of people, data subjects. So, data subjects can sue the hospital as per the law, as per the data protection law. So, when it comes to intellectual property rights, now as an example, if employee resigns from the company and gives the consumer data, and he starts another company and uses that consumer data in the present organization, that is that comes under undisclosed information and trade secrets under intellectual property law. When it comes to unauthorized access to data or program or whatever, that part covers under Computer Crimes Act. So, likewise, it all depends on the scenario of the case. So, ad hocly you can't give an opinion without looking at the scenario. So, there may be lot of things involved, there may be intellectual property involved, and there may be authorized, unauthorized access is involved, there may be you know, there may be data subjects who are penalized by that. So, we have to take lot of enactments and apply that to this particular scenario.
I mean, it's quite a vast area, as you very correctly said. And Aparrajitha, I want to also touch on the fact that if you have been attacked or compromised, isn't it a good practice to openly come and say, look, we have faced an attack and these are the steps we have carried out? Wouldn't you as a customer prefer if the company that was holding your data and was hacked comes and tells it to you, versus having to learn it from another way and then you realize the company had stayed quiet about it? What are your thoughts?
That is the ethical part of it, right? So, that is why all these principles are there when it comes to private data, right. So, companies are liable to protect their customers' data. That is why these privacy by design principles are there. That is why all these ethics are there. So, now as an example, in Europe, there is this Artificial Intelligence Act coming up. So, Artificial Intelligence Act itself says about the ethical part of it. Even GDPR talks about the ethical part of it. Legality, trustworthiness, credibility, reliability, all these are ethical part of it. So, even Sri Lankan Data Protection Act talks on all these principles. So, the companies have to understand these principles and apply these principles to their customer data. That is all. So, ethics should be there anyway.
Understood. Now, another part of this cyber security today is what we call as the problem of cyber bullying. And we know a lot of, especially young girls face this, you know, where it might be certain compromising pictures. I mean, this is something that no one talks about today, Aparrajitha, but I believe this is a problem. I mean, I don't know what your opinion will be on this, but I think this is a serious issue. We've seen young girls committing suicide sometimes due to some of these compromising pictures. Is there any form of legal refuge for these young girls? Can they come and take certain legal action against some of those perpetrators who would have been sharing some of their compromising information, images, etc.? Is there any legal refuge on that matter?
Actually, this has been in debate.
Yes.
I am the first person who came up with a research on that. If I don't know whether you saw that.
I would love to see the stats.
Yes, it's on harassment beyond borders. You can read that. So, actually, when it comes to cyberbullying, there are safeguards. So, people think that there are no safeguards, especially with children. So, there is a special provision for protection of children. So, children can go to Child Protection Authority. There is a special division for cyber harassments. Sexting has become the commonest thing when it comes to social media bullying. So, actually I did a small survey. I can, you know, if you want me to disclose the commonest platform, I will disclose. I don't know whether
that's fine, yeah.
Okay. So, as per my survey, the commonest platform where the sexting happens is the Facebook. For the victims are women who are 20 to 30 years of age.
So, where they get very obscene messages from random unknown
Correct.
people and so on.
So, they also in the victim's point of view, they also have to be very careful, because we used to put pictures in the Facebook, and actually recently I saw that you can lock your profile.
Correct.
So, those measures can be used.
Yes.
So, when it comes to cyberbullying, the law, penal code is there for harassments and all. Obscene Publication Act is there. If somebody publish your obscene pictures, even your partner, without your consent, they can't publish.
Understood.
So, there are ways and means to safeguard, but there are gaps. I do not say it is very comprehensive, the cyberbullying part of it, but we have safeguards.
Understood. On a final note, Aparrajitha, what are the skills that the modern cybersecurity professionals need to have? Because especially, for a young student or a young digital professional who is watching this show, who is watching this program, they might want to know, okay, I want to get into cybersecurity, but what are the skills that I really need for that? What is your advice to them?
Yes.
Is it going to be a job in demand, cybersecurity professional?
Yeah, of course. Even in Europe, cybersecurity professionals are in demand, but you have to do it in a very interdisciplinary way. So, now the world is going through interdisciplinary way. If you are a cyber professional, you have to have add-ons like business and cyber, law and cyber. So, when it comes to a cyber security professionals, you have to know your networking and system administration and knowledge of operating systems and virtual machines. Apart from that, you have to know your coding. And also especially what I see from my 21 years of experience, the investigation part of it. Actually, the enforcement authorities, it is the most essential part of it, because when it comes to a court case, investigation part of it will be the most crucial thing. So, investigation part of it, the cyber forensic part of it, and also blockchain security when it comes to smart equipments, IoTs.
Everything is getting connected via
the internet.
So, what you are saying is cyber professionals need to have that tech background as well.
Tech background as well, and also the sociological background as well.
Now, the social engineering part, because a lot of the cyber attacks are actually happening because of the way of thinking. I mean, there are some research experiments where somebody calls a bank and is telling, oh, I need my password to this account, oh, my baby is crying, and they play the sound of a baby crying on a computer or so, and they think, okay, this is actually that mother.
Yes.
They feel sorry and they say, but it is actually a hacker.
So, and
these are the different skills, as you said.
Skills, and also artificial intelligence part of it. So, now everything is artificial intelligence. Now, when it comes to Google, you have a lot of bots.
Correct.
So, actually when it comes to cyber domain, the professionals have to be exclusive, and they have to have vast area of knowledge in lot of areas, especially digital sociology.
Understood.
So, when it comes to
how people are behaving on digital platforms.
Correct. So, now when it comes to Europe, they actually take all these people, a lawyer, a sociologist, and a IT professional. So, when they make a product,
yes,
they take all these people. So, we also as business people, we also have to have that.
Aparrajitha, it was an excellent discussion with you today. You brought in so many different angles of cybersecurity, which I think were great, and wish you good luck with all your future endeavors, and I hope the tips you shared today will help the citizens of this country, the viewers of this program, to stay safe on digital platforms. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
No matter what industry or business you may be in, digital security, cyber security, cyber law becomes relevant to your business at some point of time. The cyber safety of your customers, of your employees will depend on that as well. So, make sure you pay adequate attention, because it might be a lot better to invest a couple of millions in order to save losing a couple of billions. I'm Tharindra Amarasekara, and no matter what industry you may be in, have a profitable and digitally safe week ahead. I'll see you with the next episode. This is Bisnomics.